Never trust a man who wears a leather wrist cuff. This is A Day in the Country. Hi, everyone.
Hey, welcome to Seen and Heard. This is the podcast where two entertainment assistants talk about the Sight and Sound Top 100 Greatest Films of All Time list. I'm Greg, and I'm joined by my co-host, Jackie.
Hi.
And we're here this week to discuss some more Jean Renoir. So yeah, this is our second Jean Renoir film after The Rules of the Game that we covered quite a few episodes back.
That was one of the first episodes.
Yeah, first.
Was it number 4?
Yeah, something like that. So it was within the first 8 episodes because we do ping pong, if you weren't aware, between the top and bottom of the list.
And yes, I just checked. Rules of the Game is number 4 on the list.
Yeah.
His other film, the film of today's episode, A Day in the Country, is at the bottom of the list at number 90.
Yeah. So what have you been watching, Jackie?
Oh my gosh.
Besides A Day in the Country.
I saw Vortex.
Oh, did you? The Gaspar Noé movie?
It was a very impulse. It was the last day it was playing at the American Cinematheque. And I even texted you. I'm like, shit, should I go? Do I not go? I'm going to go alone.
Do you like how I just acted
so
surprised that you saw it? I was like, oh, did you?
Yeah, great job. Academy Award.
Showmanship.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I went. What a beautiful opening.
I love the opening.
Like the opening.
Yeah.
I don't mean to like, I don't know, demean the movie, but honestly, I think the opening was my favorite part.
That's fair. It's an amazing opening.
And I don't want to give too much away, but I was so intrigued with the way the movie started. I really was. First of all, I love how he like plays with credits.
Yes.
He does that on all his films,
Uh-huh.
I've learned. And immediately interesting choices, like from the get-go. But I don't want to give it away. And then we did talk about in the last episode how it is split screen. So once the split screen starts and it's that slow divide, it's just interesting choice after interesting choice. The Francois Hardy part where she's singing.
Yep.
I don't want to give it away. The dedication.
Uh-huh.
Do you remember like who it's
Oh, of
dedicated
course.
to? How
Yep.
could you forget?
How could you? You can say it. That's not a spoiler.
Okay, it is dedicated to all those whose brain dies before their hearts.
Deteriorates.
Right? I think
before-
I think it said dies.
I think it's deteriorate or something like that. Or like degenerates or deteriorates.
And then the birth years of the main cast and Noé himself. Just fun.
Doesn't
The
he
opening-
remind you of sort of a French New Wave, like pushing the envelope kind of like he could exist back then
Definitely.
with those guys?
Yeah, for sure. It really is a gut punch in the end, but it actually is much more gentle than Amour. I thought it was going to be harsher, but Amour is harsher. It's so harsh. This was a gut punch, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Amour's worse.
So Amour was just on Criterion Channel, and friend of the podcast and member of the film club, Aaron, had messaged me and said, hey, I know you were talking about wanting to see Amour. It's on the Criterion Channel. It's leaving at the end of the month. And I had like 4 or 5 days to watch it. But of course, I went out of town this last weekend. And by the time I came back, I just did not get around to it. So I still haven't seen Amour.
It's so good.
So you love Vortex. So
I loved Vortex.
Yeah.
I think I like Amour a little more.
that's fair.
Amour a
there's
little
two.
more.
It's funny because the two, Gaspar Noé and Michael Haneke, are kind of they're both provocateurs.
Yes. So then I got into this like provocateur weekend.
Oh, did you?
I was just like, fuck it. Like I just
Really?
like, I'll just hate myself this weekend.
Yeah.
So I watched Climax, which isn't that bad.
Oh, you watched Climax?
Yeah.
Oh.
It wasn't that bad.
I fucking love Climax.
But it wasn't as horrendous as I thought it was going to be. And I say horrendous as in the way it makes you feel, not the movie.
Yeah.
I liked it. I just think it's kind of strange that so for those of you who don't know, Climax is this Gaspar Noé movie where these dancers are practicing for some tour. They're in a secluded school and someone laces the sangria with LSD and they don't know who. And it's just this kind of nightmare of all these people who are extremely high and just go crazy. And I don't know. I liked it. I thought it was electrifying, obviously, but I think it's so weird because there was no plot, right? He just told the actors like, this is what I kind of want to happen, but just have fun with it.
So I think that's even the case on Vortex. A lot of his films,
really?
He has like 5 or 10 pages, and they literally start shooting with that because he likes to get involved. He likes the actors to kind of like do their own thing, and there's a lot of improv, and the actors come up with their own lines and stuff, which I love about him. So yeah, but yeah, no. So I think Climax, he just had a few pages before they went into it, not knowing what would happen to each character. He would just approach people like, where do you want to take your character? And they're like, okay, I want to do this, but great, you can do that. It's cool.
Interesting. It is cool.
It is cool. Rock. I think it's really in this day and age of where everything is sort of like over scripted and like planned to a T, you know, your David Finchers of the world, who I like David Fincher, but like it's so meticulous and like,
because I feel like at least in the US, like directors aren't allowed to do that. They're just not.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I also watched Crash because I was like, whatever.
The Cronenberg
my provocateur movie, provocateur weekend.
Yeah.
Yes. I watched Cronenberg's Crash because Crimes of the Future is getting a lot of heat right now. And yeah, Crash is, I don't know. You tell me how you feel about Crash.
I really like Crash.
Why? I'm just curious. I'm not saying that. I'm not trying to challenge you. I just want to know why.
I think it's an interesting glimpse into this sort of like fringe group. Because these people do exist.
Do they really?
Yeah, they do. If you don't know, the movie's about people that get off on like car accidents, and you know, there's a lot of sexual stuff involved. That's all I'll say. But yeah, I mean, there's people. Absolutely, I wouldn't say it's like a big group, but those people do exist, and I think I'm just kind of like drawn to extreme cinema, and I like how absurd the movie is. I know you texted me after you saw it and you said that you laughed. I laughed too because there are some genuinely ridiculous moments.
Yes.
Yeah, I just like it, and I like those kind of like, it plays it straight, but it's a completely absurd film. It's an outrageous movie. I don't know. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked it too. I thought it was going to be more about PTSD than it was.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it kind of covers that too, but not as deep of a dive as you wanted.
Yeah, I'd say. And then when the wife gets involved, I'm like, you weren't in a crash.
Yeah.
But yeah, what have you been watching?
Like you, I think it was kicked off by the Gaspar Noé double feature. I've been watching a lot of kind of extreme and exploitation cinema in the last week.
Yeah.
So I'll go through very quickly because I have many, and I'll just very quickly touch on them. I saw X, the Ty West movie from last year with Mia Goth. That was pretty good. It's kind of a modern slasher movie, kind of a take on Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Pretty good. I saw my first nunsploitation film called Christiana Devil Nun from 1972, which was better than I thought it would be. I saw my first Herschel Gordon Lewis movie, who was known as the Godfather of Gore, Blood Feast from 1963, which was also fun. And surprisingly disgusting for 1963. Like, you see everything in this movie. Like, it's disgusting. And then I saw my first two Doris Wishman films. Doris Wishman is kind of the queen of exploitation cinema. I saw her two movies with Chesty Morgan. I saw Deadly Weapons and Double Agent 73. Deadly Weapons was much better. Literally about a woman with huge weapons that smothers people to death with them. So that's the gist of the movie. But it was a great time, and honestly, like a very inventive film. She was great. And then I saw some Kenneth. I've seen Kenneth Anger before, but I kind of went back and revisited some because I'm working on a script right now that kind of calls for that kind of like Kenneth Anger inflection. So if you don't know, he's primarily a short filmmaker. Still alive. He's in his 90s. He started making films in the 40s.
Wow.
All underground films. I saw Scorpio Rising for the first time, and then I revisited Custom Car Commandos, Invocation of My Demon Brother, and Ode to Artifice, which is one of my favorites because it's literally like 13 minutes of just this like majestic fountain and like all the streams of water. And this woman in this like 18th century dress just like wandering down these stone steps as just like these fountains are going off. It's one of my favorite movies I've ever seen. Like, this movie gets me. So yeah, I've also felt drawn to sort of extreme cinema this week, and gonna continue. I meant to see Titan this week from last year, which won the Palme d'Or.
I never saw it.
I just got it in, but I haven't watched it yet. And then I have been meaning to watch more, and there's a couple others on the list. So I'm still like, I just want to get. Oh, Holiday! I saw the film Holiday.
Which one?
I know they're not the Cary Grant one. The one by Isabella Eckloff, and she was the writer of Border. I don't know if you saw Border from a couple years ago. This was her directorial debut. Very stunning movie. Again, kind of one of those taboo movies because there's this really graphic rape scene in it, which unfortunately I just found out was cut from all streaming versions of the movie. And it's literally like the most important scene in the movie because it kind of determines, it's a huge shift in the movie.
Yeah.
And if you watch it streaming, apparently the entire scene is just cut out, which it's like, what year are we living in? What country are we living in? It's just crazy.
Yeah, that reminds me of like Streetcar Named Desire.
Yeah, I mean, how can you... It's insane to me. It's insane. So anyway, a lot of extreme cinema this week. Loved it, eating it up. A lot of low budget exploitation cinema, which is kind of new to me. Exploitation, like really, really cheaply made movies. But I'm getting a lot from them because it's just interesting to see what people can do with like zero budget.
Yeah.
There's such a determination. Like you have to will your film into existence. And there's something about that that's like really inspiring.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you going off of, because I know Criterion has a section this month.
Doris
Is
Wishman.
that what you're... No, just very small micro budget.
Yeah, some of them are on there. Yeah, they do. Criterion Channel does have a Doris Wishman feature up right now, which is great. But yeah, there's a lot of great stuff on the Criterion Channel right now.
Busy week.
Anyway, should we get to this week's film?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
1936/1946.
Yeah.
And we will explain.
This is A Day in the Country.
Partie de Campagne, or A Day in the Country, was shot in 1936. However, it was not released until 1946. It was written and directed by Jean Renoir, based on a short story by Guy de Maupassant. Cinematography by Claude Renoir, the director's nephew. A Parisian family, the Dufours, spend a Sunday in 1860 in the country. The family consists of Monsieur Dufour, a shopkeeper, and he has brought along his shopboy, Anatole. They are joined by Madame Dufour and their daughter Henrietta, as well as Madame Dufour's mother, Grandma. As the family has a lunch picnic at a fish restaurant, Madame Dufour and Henrietta are courted by two young men, Henry and Rudolph. While Monsieur Dufour and Anatole are distracted fishing, the young men offer to take the ladies for rides down the river in their rowboats, Henrietta going with Henry, and her mother with Rudolph. Once he has her alone on a secluded riverbank, Henry makes a move on Henrietta, who resists at first, but eventually melts into his kiss. A title card informs us that many years have passed, and on another day trip to the country, Henrietta, now married to Anatole, runs into Henry on the very riverbank where he first seduced her. The would-be lovers profess that they think about each other often and part with only their memories of that idyllic day in the country. The film stars Sylvia Bataille as Henriette, Jane Markin as Madame Dufour, and George Darnaud as Henry. Jean Renoir also makes an appearance as the chef of the restaurant they eat at, and, fun fact, Marguerite Renoir, who was Jean's lover and the editor of many of his films, including this one, plays the waitress. Did you know that?
I did not know
Also,
that.
they never married, but she just took his last name.
That's cute. She just knew.
Yeah. So the film was unfortunately incomplete. It was shot in 1936. However, bad weather caused Renoir to abandon the project. In short, it kept raining. In 1946, after the war, the producer, Pierre Bromberger, worked with Marguerite to put together a 40-minute movie while Renoir was still in his Hollywood phase. So he basically left France during the war, came to Hollywood. He made a bunch of movies. He was still there while they were editing this together in 1946. They added the 2 inner titles to, quote, help with comprehension. And they hired Joseph Cosma to write a score. But apparently, the movie was only ever supposed to be 50 minutes long. Did you know that?
I think all it's missing is like a return after they kind of, well, I don't want to say elope because it's not that. It's a rape, basically. But after that scene, they were just supposed to like go back to shore and stuff. I think that's all that's missing. That's my understanding.
We'll talk.
Yeah.
But the movie was released in 1950 in the US. That's all I have for specs.
Yeah. Interesting. I just want to point out this is another movie on the Seine. Our last film,
yes.
Lots of Lot, was on the Seine.
And before that, it was Aguirre, Wrath of God.
Which was another river.
The Amazon. That's so weird.
Yeah. Well, Jackie, I want to hear your thoughts on this one. I have a little preview because you did text me a little bit after you watched it. But for everyone else, let them have it.
What did I text you?
You said this movie is icky.
Okay.
Before I had seen it.
Here's the thing. Yes, I know. Here's the thing. I like to consider myself someone who's able to watch a movie from, 1936 and try to see past the uncomfortable moments that were widely accepted back then as kind of normal, but now we know better and they're clearly wrong, such as in La Talente when he slaps her. Mm-hmm. And I try to look past, I do consider myself one of those people who tries to look past it to see why a film is so influential and so great. However, truly, I think it was too distracting in this movie. It really was. Listen.
That's fair.
Listen, these guys, they're really cringy.
Yeah.
Like really, the whole time. It's not even just one part. The second they're on screen, they're cringy. And I'll obviously talk about it more, but yeah, Henry and Rudolph are just hunting for prey. That's what they're doing. I'm sorry, the analogy they use is fishing.
Right.
But that's what they do. And also, my other initial thought is this movie feels incomplete because it is. So why is it on the list? I truly, when it ended, I'm like, it's a shame that this is on the list because one, it's incomplete. It could have been replaced by a movie that is complete. It is a director who made a movie, finished it, edited it together, his or herself, and yeah.
Well, this Magnificent Ambersons is also on the list, and that's incomplete also.
I don't think that's right. There are so many fully fledged, incredible movies on the list, not on the list, that should be on the list. And I think to include a 40-minute movie that's incomplete and really creepy is not a good move.
Yeah, that's fair.
What are your initial thoughts?
So, before this, actually, my only Renoir was Rules of the Game, which I've seen a couple times, and I'm like lukewarm on. Like, I like it enough. I think it's pretty good, but it doesn't I don't get excited about the Rules of the Game. So, much to my surprise, I sat down and watched this the other day. This, 41-minute film or whatever it ends up being. I was completely taken with it, to be honest with you.
I'm shaking my head.
And I wasn't prepared for it. I was like, oh, another Renoir. Okay, sure. I'm sure it'll be good. I'm sure it'll be fine. I was really taken with this.
It's because of the water.
That has something to do with it. Because there's all those beautiful shots of the rain on the water and stuff.
That was gorgeous. It was.
No, it's because, okay, we were just talking about Gaspar Noé. I just saw his film Lux Eterna a week or two ago. And that's like a 55-minute movie. And I love that length film because in that time, you can still tell a proper story. I mean, you could tell this is a film, right? Like technically, Day in the Countries, I looked it up on Wikipedia, it called it a featurette. I think 40 minutes or 41 is just shy of being called a feature. So this almost is a short. It's this weird middle ground between short and feature. But I like films that are able to give you a whole experience in that short amount of time. And because a lot of movies are padded, let's be real, a lot of movies are padded. Maybe not so many on this list that we're talking about, but in general, you watch a movie, you're like, yeah, they could have lost 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever. So look, this movie was very potent for me, in terms of A to B to C, and in 40 minutes. Wow. And also, it didn't feel incomplete to me. I knew going into it that it was unfinished, but I like the kind of jump that the movie makes forward in time, which I'm guessing some of that stuff in there is what's missing. I liked that jump, and it kind of felt modern, honestly, and in a way that maybe Renoir didn't intend, because a lot of people started doing that stuff like later, like these huge time jumps. I really like this. Again, those guys are super creepy, and I don't necessarily think that Renoir is behind them. Like Renoir knows how creepy they are. And at the end of the day, this isn't like, it's not a wistful ending. Like it's an upsetting ending. Like she has been raped. But
it's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be this like romantic, I mean, we'll get into it, but it is supposed to be this very, she thinks of it every night, not in a way that I was raped, but as this romantic thing that happened to her.
That's the sad part of it. And I think maybe even if that's not what Renoir intended, I think viewing it through today's lens, it's impossible not to pick up on this terrible thing that happened to her. And just sort of like, again, maybe he didn't intend for it, but I think it adds a layer of complexity to it.
He definitely didn't intend for it.
Well, even if he didn't intend for it, like I think you can read it into it, and it just worked for me. And I think too, because I've been watching, like both of us have been watching a lot of sort of more extremist films, and this almost felt like this weird harmony between, like, there's the serene, and then it's offset by like this nastiness. And the nastiness of these two guys, like it's called A Day in the Country. It's about a picnic in the mid 1800s. It's, from this Parisian family that comes out to the country, and like the music is delightful. The way this movie's beautifully shot. Like
it is.
I was really stunned because Rules of the Game looks pretty good, but I wasn't like bowled over by the look of that film. The look of this film was stunning. Like it just looked so picturesque and like you wanted to crawl inside the movie. So you have this very picturesque setting. But then you have this like vein of nastiness that runs through it, like this river that I just like. For me, it's just the way that it offset the serenity of the movie just really worked for me. And I really dug this. I liked it a lot. In fact, I like it more than Rules of the Game. And I admit that Rules of the Game has more going on, and it has much more to. Well, I don't know that it has much more to say, because the movie's kind of a parable. I think what I liked about this movie so much was it was a more human story than Rules of the Game.
Yeah,
but I really dug this. Yeah,
it's a human story, but I didn't really like any of the characters. Like I didn't really. The either. Mom was really annoying.
But it's this. Upper middle class Parisian family.
Like, I will say the dad was great. Like that know-it-all dad who thinks that he's like a doctor and also a botanist and just knows everything. That was great.
Yeah.
But Anatole is ridiculous.
wait. Let's talk about him. He's too ridiculous. And it tells you in the start that she's going to marry him. And the whole time it said like his successor and future son-in-law. Yeah. But they're not engaged during the movie, so the whole time I'm like, why? Wait, are you sure they're not engaged? I think they are engaged.
Why is he his shopkeeper if he's his future son-in-law?
They probably met there. He probably met him and then courted his daughter through him. You know what I mean?
I really don't know. But he was so annoying.
And the way that parents would set up their kids back then.
I know.
He's supposed to be annoying. He's ridiculous. Also, how old is that guy? In some shots, he looked like he was like 60.
And his voice, he's putting on this voice, and I'm just like,
He has one of the more ridiculous faces I've ever seen.
His hair, his hiccups. Every time he lifts his hat, his hair flops around. I do love when the dad, though, when he has hiccups, he goes, "Oh, that came from the stomach. I know what to do." Like, that is my dad. It really is. My dad thinks that he's all these things. I'm like, you're not. So the dad I really liked, actually. He was my favorite character.
I like how annoyed the dad gets with Anatole.
Oh, hilarious. It's really hilarious. Yeah, I mean, here's my thing, okay? And I don't have that much to say about this.
This might be a shorter episode
movie.
Because the movie's 40 minutes, yeah.
Here's what's sad, okay? I love the theme of nature and returning to nature from a busy life in the city. When we did the Aguirre Wrath of God episode, Kinski calls it. We played that clip of Herzog saying that Kinski calls nature very erotic.
Yeah,
and I thought it was very ironic that we're doing that.
Yeah.
Anyway, the erotic implications of nature, right? I love that, being close to nature, the animalistic sense. which like overpowers the norms of society, being really alive, in a word. I love that. And here in this movie, we have, is her name, her name is Henriette. I think I called her Henrietta.
No,
earlier.
you said Henriette.
Okay. Her name is Henriette. She's on her way, right? She's going through this. You see it. You see her having this relationship with nature. She says some really profound stuff. Like she says like about worms. They're born and they die like us. You know, she's on this journey. She's having this relationship. She cries when she hears birds singing.
Yeah.
All of that is going for it. I love when she says it's so quiet here, and Henry, like the douche he is, goes, "What do you mean there's birds singing?" And she's like, "No, that's part of the quiet." I loved that. I thought that was lovely. I loved her journey. However, I think that there's a definite male gaze in this movie. Mm-hmm. I can't help but feel like it's just a man telling a woman how to be passionate and how to wake up and how to have this relationship with nature. Mm-hmm. That's it. Like when I see it, that's what I see. This mentality of she just need a little push. You know, she'll thank me later. It's like he took credit for it.
Well, the character does.
That's what I'm saying.
But does Renoir?
I'm not talking about Renoir.
Okay.
But I don't think Renoir thought that deeply about it.
You think?
Yes.
I think he was a very thoughtful person, though. I mean, look at his films. I mean,
no, I think he tries to do what they do in one of our favorite movies, A Room with a View. I think it's supposed to be like Room with a View, but it just fails because, I don't know, rape was common back then.
But there's no rape in Room with a View.
Exactly. She doesn't need it. She's having it on her own. She's having this journey. They're falling in love. With this, it's just, yeah.
The tone of this movie, so this was the 1930s French Room with a View. Like, that's what he was going for, basically.
Yes.
I don't know. I think it's more complicated than that.
I don't.
I do. I don't know.
He's repeatedly making moves on her.
Oh yeah, their whole existence. Here's the thing. They're like sharks in this film, right? Like they take, I just think that this forward momentum that those characters have, this gross shark mentality, just gives the film it gives it stakes, I think, but prior to that, it's just this like jaunty thing. And I think it gives it this element of danger. And I honestly expected this to turn out more like The Virgin Spring or something. Like I expected worse things to happen, but I get what you're saying and it all makes sense. But for some reason it just didn't, I saw it in a slightly different way.
My happiest memories are here, he says to her. And he looks like such a douche saying it. I'm using that word a lot because he has that like smug smile, like I come here all the time. My best memories are here. And there's this romantic music playing. You can't tell me she's no. It's supposed to be romantic.
I don't know. I think she's just so young and naive that she's been tricked into thinking that this encounter was something.
And when he said, what does he say? He says, "Wouldn't you like to go to shore?" Genuinely sounds like a creepy guy at the bar, and they're in this boat.
Oh yeah, of course. I'm not disputing that he's they're very creepy.
I know, but it's just
they're very rapey. It's all about fresh meat for them. They're talking about these women as if they're meat. Like, I'll take her, you take the mother. No, it's okay, fine, I'll take her. And they're like switching off and stuff. They're disgusting. I'm not even disputing that, but I think someone like her, she's so young and impressionable that an incident like this would shape her mind, and she would think that she was like in love with this guy because she lost her virginity. I'm assuming she lost her virginity that day on that island, and that does something to you psychologically. And so I guess I do think that Renoir, there's a deeper level to this than maybe that
I think that's where we disagree. Yeah. I think when Renoir made this, it's a romance. And that's what it is. Every time I read about it, even Letterboxd reviews, the people who liked it, it's like, this movie's so beautiful, makes me cry. Like the beauty at the end when they reunite, like the reunited lovers, even though they're not lovers. I think it just felt very ingenuine at the end.
I think it's just an interesting sort of like, because look at Anatole, like there's nothing sexual about this guy at all. And there's nothing passionate. He's a dweeb. And I think the fact that this guy forced himself on her, that came after her like this shark, hunted her down immediately, just forced himself on her and probably took her virginity. Like, again, it's rape, but it's affected her profoundly. And I think she's confused. She's mixed up. And that's why, again, I don't think it's this love story. I don't think it's this happy ending. Like it's sad. It's sad. I was sad when the movie ended. Like, I wasn't like,
Well, you're supposed to be sad, but you're supposed to be sad that the lovers are not together.
well, see, I'm sad for a different reason. I'm
Exactly.
sad that she's wistful for
Exactly.
this encounter that she had with this guy when it was clearly rape.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
It sounds like we're on such a similar wavelength with this movie, but it's like just slightly off.
yes, because it all comes back to me believing that Renoir was making this romantic movie.
Right. Because he's a French guy. It's the early 20th
30s,
century.
yeah.
It's like,
I will say, though, as I said before, I am someone who tries to find beauty. I think the close-up, the kiss close-up, it was like beautiful. It really was. It really was.
yeah.
It's very close.
Yeah. I mean, the movie is just, the cinematography all around was stunning. Stunning. And
Truly-
especially when the rain starts, because the rain is like threatening to come for a while. It's like, oh, we won't take the boats out because it's about to rain. It's about to
I
rain.
love when the rain falls.
And then
It's
it finally
gorgeous.
falls, and you get all these beautiful shots of the
Yes.
river with just rain falling. That's
Yes.
so nice.
Did you notice how Jean Renoir in Rules of the Game also, I think he orders an omelet with white wine in Rules of the Game, and in this movie he makes them an omelet while
Oh,
they're
I
drinking
didn't
white
notice that.
wine.
I
Yeah.
didn't know.
This man, apparently we have to try it. It sounds very French. Imagine having an omelet, just a simple like cheese omelet with some herbs and a glass of white wine.
Yeah, I guess so.
Sounds good.
But I don't associate white wine with breakfast like I do a mimosa.
It's not
or
breakfast, so
something.
I don't think they were eating breakfast. They were eating lunch. I think French people
Oh.
eat omelets at all times of the day.
I think you're right, actually. Let me ask you this while we're on the topic of omelets. Do you prefer, like, when it comes to your scrambled eggs, do you like a scramble, or do you use soft scramble, or what's the story?
Soft.
Yeah.
As soft as possible.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
For years, did not like scrambled eggs at all. I like eggs, but I don't like scrambled eggs because they'd be rubbery. And it makes me sick, especially in the
gross.
morning when you're eating it, like upsets your stomach.
Gross.
And then when I discovered soft scramble, it was like a revelation. I was
Yes.
like, wait, you can eat eggs like this?
Yeah, it is so good.
And now I'll only do soft scramble.
You know who has the best soft scramble? One of the best. Have you ever been to All Time? It
Yes.
was right next to where you live.
Yes.
How have you had their soft
I
scramble?
have.
It's so
It's in Los
good.
Feliz. It's on Hillhurst. Yeah.
It's so good.
It is good. I used to go there. We used to go there pretty frequently before we moved to Pasadena.
Oh, Dina. What else? I don't know. I feel like we should talk a little bit more about this Room with the View comparison.
Yeah. Well, if you
'Cause we
don't,
both love it.
know, both Jackie and I are obsessed with Room with a View. Love that movie to
But do you
death.
get what I'm trying to say? It is
Yeah.
this young woman who is drawn to nature against these social norms.
Here's what I'll offer in defense of this film. I think where this film differs is there's no one in Room with a View. Like, the Julian Sands character in Room with a View is persistent, but he's sweet and well-intentioned. And the characters in this film, the male characters that go after them, from the first time you meet them, are hawks. Like, I don't think Renoir is like, yeah, look at these guys, like, they're so cool, like, going after these ladies. Like, they're hawks.
I'm not saying he's saying they're cool. I think he is making fun of them in the beginning. Oh, remember the mustache thing that guy is wearing?
No.
This is kind of random, but he has this mustache setter on his face.
Oh,
Did
yeah,
you
yeah,
notice
yeah.
that?
Yeah.
I think he's making fun of them.
Yeah, he is making fun of them. Yes.
For sure. But then I also think that it's
Well, here's the thing.
this story of a guy who started out as, like, I just want to sleep with her, but then fell in love.
Well, here's the thing. Those guys in this film get nothing else to do besides pursue these women and talk about them in really demeaning ways. And I think if Renoir wanted us to believe that she had fallen for him at the end, he would give him something else to do besides being
It's
a shark.
incomplete. The movie's incomplete. That's what I'm saying. I think it's too short. Maybe if it was.
Well, here's the thing. We have to judge
maybe
it
if
as
there
it
were
is.
more exactly,
the
and
final
this is how
product.
I'm judging it,
Right.
as how it is. But I did think about this. I said if it was longer, yes, maybe.
I don't know. I think the movie's exactly as long as it needed to be. And I like that after that big scene happens, we cut forward and it's basically just a little epilogue.
Yeah.
Because that's what more do you need?
I need a scene of them after the rape.
I know what you're saying. Yeah, it's totally valid.
Anyway.
I don't think, again, it's about this impressionable young woman who's seduced by not the dark side. She's literally raped. It's about this young woman who's this older man, probably not that much older, but older enough, forces himself on her and she's mixed up afterwards.
And his bracelet is so stupid. His wrist cuff. He's so annoying with his mustache.
Of course, they're so annoying. I have a mustache. Well, no, I have but yeah, no,
in his smug little mouth, he's like
I hate them. I hate both of them.
Yeah.
It's a sad story. It's not Room with a View. Room with a View is this sweeping. You know what's funny though, actually? I bet that Merchant and Ivory have seen this movie because
Definitely.
the Anatole character is in Room with a View. It's Daniel Day-Lewis.
No.
Yes.
Daniel Day-Lewis is cooler.
No, of course, but it's the same character. It's
Kind
Cyril.
of.
It's the
Cyril.
same story. We probably won't talk too much about it because I think both of us would love to do a personal prints on Room with a View. But I think that the Daniel Day-Lewis character in that is Anatole for sure.
How funny. I agree.
Yeah.
Should we do sight and sound?
Sure.
I will mention, actually, it was a big revelation on this movie back then. They did shoot sound on location, and that was a big deal.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
At least not a bunch of animals get shot up in this one in a big hunting scene.
So, my favorite sight, the rain on the water is very, very gorgeous, but it has to be the swing.
Ah, the swing. Were the mother-daughter on the swings?
Just the kind of the shots that are
the close-ups.
Henriette, on the swing going back and forth.
Yeah. Beautiful.
That wasn't yours? I had a feeling it would be.
No.
Oh.
You didn't guess the rain on the water?
Yes.
It's not it, though.
Oh, it's not?
It's not it. Mine is just towards the end, there's a tracking shot of the river when they're on the boat. And he says, the gross guy with the mustache says he comes here often. And then she talks about not wanting to break the silence. And there's this beautiful tracking shot on the river. And you see like the reeds and the trees on the riverbank. And it's this very like prolonged shot that was just like pretty stunning. And I think both romantic and foreboding. I think it accomplished both. So I really liked that.
I really liked, even the first time they come on the riverbank, just them in the brushes, like when they're walking through, and it is gorgeous.
Yeah.
That riverbank is very pretty.
It is.
What's your favorite sound?
My favorite sound is just when the rain, it's just before the rain starts. And of course it's been threatening to burst through the whole movie. The rain's going to come. And then finally you get the swell of the score as you cut up to the clouds. And it's this moment right here.
Qui vont se faire saucer les Parisiens. Que du fou. Vous n'avez plus besoin de rien? Non, non. Non.
It kind of reminds me of something you'd hear at Disneyland, like in one of the Fantasyland rides.
Yes. Yeah. After you've landed, like wherever you were going.
Yeah, what ride? Yeah, one of us, Snow White, maybe Pinocchio
Something.
also.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just like it. It has that grand...
Should we talk about
whimsical
Disneyland
sound.
every single episode?
Yes, it's a mandate. What about you? What's your favorite sound?
My favorite sound is when the dad asks Anatole to give him his rod because his the dad's rod has been caught on a shoe. He just says, Anatole, give me your rod.
Oh, yeah.
And Anatole says, no. And he goes, give me your rod.
Anatole, donnez-moi votre canne à pêche.
Oh non, monsieur Dupuis.
Anatole, donnez-moi votre canne à pêche.
Non, monsieur
Mais vous ne comprenez rien, Anatole!
Non, monsieur Dupuis.
That whole interaction, he
It's
asks
actually-
him 3 times.
That's actually not what I expected from you.
Why?
I feel like you went off the book on this
It's
one.
funny.
I guess, yeah, maybe it was the funniest line because you usually do pick those ridiculous
Silly.
lines. Yeah. Well, should we do Pauline?
Yeah, I'm so curious.
Pauline Kael. So here's what she had to say. And I felt very validated because I texted you. Okay, so you texted me this movie was icky. Then I watched it. It also colored, what, interesting thing, because you said it was icky before I watched it, I think I was expecting worse.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, oh shit, this movie's going to be gross. Like,
Yeah.
and I think, anyway, and then I ended up really liking it. And then you saw my high Letterboxd rating, and then you texted me like, what the hell, is this real? And I felt totally validated when I read Pauline's review. Okay. So she calls it one of the 2 or 3 greatest short story films ever made, a lyric tragedy that ranks with his finest work. Visually, it recaptures the Impressionist period. In tone, it accomplishes a transformation from light nostalgic comedy to despair. So yes, Pauline, I completely agree with you. I think, again, it's that lightness and that shift into the darkness. It is a tragedy, and it is beautiful and lyrical, and I so agree with Pauline on this one. And I do think it's one of the best sort of like mid-length movies. And again, I'm becoming obsessed with these mid-length movies. It's just the fact that if you have 40 minutes, you can put this on and have a full cinematic experience. That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, are you surprised at Pauline's reaction to the movie?
No, she would.
She would.
But I don't think she means melancholy the way you do.
No, she literally called it despair. She says she says it's a tragedy.
She said melancholy.
She says a tragedy, and she says,
But why?
The transformation from light nostalgic comedy to despair.
Interesting.
Yeah. You know what feels good about this one? I feel like when there is a difference between us, most of the time I don't like the movie and I feel really bad about it. I'm like, is there something wrong with me? This is one where I'm just surprised I like it so much more than you.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised too.
Yeah.
Because I like French movies. I like movies in the country.
Like for me, this way more does it for me than La Talente. That sounds
really
scandalous.
No.
You know what? Let's put this question out there maybe. So this is our 3rd French film from the 30s.
Yeah.
We did Rules of the Game, we did La Talente, and now we're doing A Day in the Country. Have you seen all these movies? If you have, which one's your favorite? If you want to send us a message, we're at hello@sceneandheardpod.com. Let us know. Maybe we'll read them on the next episode. And
that sounds fun.
Take the general temperature and see where people are at in terms of the 2 Renoirs and the Vigo.
Yeah.
Because they do share some similarities.
Definitely. Yeah. And even, after I finished this movie, I watched Jean Vigo's short, the one that we talked about in the previous episode, Zero for Conduct. Because I just felt like I was in that mood already. It was this like 30s French mood. So yeah, let us know which one you guys, if you've seen all 3 or even if you've only seen a few, let us know your thoughts on them. We'd love to hear. Yeah,
you can email, or you can also Arroyo Film Club on Instagram. That's ARROYO Film Club. You could message us on there. On our website, you can contact us anyway. But yeah, if you feel so compelled, drop us a line. Let us know which one you like the best or which one you like the least or whatever, and we'll read them on the next episode.
Sounds fun.
Yeah. So, Letterboxd?
Yeah, let's do it. All right, I have one. 3 stars. Me during the first few minutes. All right, I feel like I can vibe with the male gaze. Hey, what's good?
Someone gave it 3 stars and said, uh-oh, this is a tough one. It's certainly beautiful, and I've always loved Renoir, but even given that it wasn't exactly finished, I am left really bothered by the fact that a rape may have occurred, and it's made to seem a nostalgic moment. It just didn't sit well with me and seemed at odds with the tone of the piece. See, that's exactly what I liked about it.
I agree with that.
I love the fact that the tone is this. It's like the same thing as like, looking at the films of Scorsese or whatever, where he'd play these pop songs during violent scenes.
But it's not supposed to be that.
I think it is. I think it is. I like that about it.
I like that we disagree.
Yeah.
Half a star, unfinished, and it shows. Boring, wittering dialogue accompanies a cloying take on the French countryside, with a budget Laurel and Hardy thrown in. The pathos of the ending is thoroughly undermined by the scene of premeditated sexual assault just minutes before.
It's true.
This seems to be a theme of people's criticism for it.
Yeah.
But nowhere does it pop up, and Actually, never mind.
What?
I was just saying, like when I read about it or when you read the Criterion like summary, it's just, let's read it. I want to read it actually.
I just had it. Oh, here it is.
The synopsis on Criterion.
Here's what Criterion says. This bittersweet film from Jean Renoir, based on a story by blah, 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 is a tenderly comic idyll about a city family's picnic in the French countryside and the romancing of the mother and grown daughter by two local men. Conceived as a short feature, the project had nearly finished production in 1936 when Renoir was called away for the lower depths. Shooting was abandoned then, but the film was completed, blah, blah, blah. The result is a warmly humanist vignette that ranks among Renoir's most lyrical works, with a love for nature imbuing its every beautiful frame. Honestly, Criterion does not sell this. They say the family's picnic in the French countryside and the romancing of the mother and grown daughter by two local men. I wouldn't say it's a romancing. It's like a poaching.
No, it's not meant to be.
I would say Criterion did not aptly describe the film.
Wow.
Because Pauline got it. Pauline got it. She did. She calls it a tragedy. Nothing about on Criterion's description of the film does not.
Yeah.
I feel like Criterion does not get the film.
Yeah, maybe.
Hot take. No, I love you. I love you, Criterion.
1.5 stars. Okay, yeah, this movie was boring as hell, but the score is wonderful and the vibes are really good. I only watched it because it was the shortest feature-length movie in my watch list. Anyways, I have officially watched exactly 600 different movies in the year 2021. Happy New Year!
Hey, that's a lot. Good for you. That's like 2 movies a day. Someone gave it 5 stars and said, Jean Renoir creates passion, longing, and missed opportunities better in a 40-minute short than most do with a 2-hour runtime. Beautiful imagery with the forest, heartbreaking performances, and an altogether wonderful story that Renoir tells in the most breathtaking of ways. Renoir once said, the story isn't important. It's how it's told that is important. And nothing exemplifies that best than this short film.
I agree with that Renoir quote. However, I didn't like the rest of the characters either. Like, I didn't like the mom. The dad, yeah, he was funny, but whatever.
I like the mom.
She's so annoying.
She's having a good time.
Oh.
Someone gave it 2 stars and said, I don't understand the near universal love for this film. What I took away was sleazy dude pursues and then rapes a young woman after tricking her fiance. The young woman decides that she'd rather liked it and revisits the location with her now husband on a regular basis. Am I somehow looking at it wrong? Maybe Jean Renoir's intended film would have framed all of this properly, but as it stands, it just feels awful.
Yeah. 3 stars. This is my last one. The grandma whose entire life revolves around the kitten she just found in a field is so special and important to me. Representation matters.
Oh, boy. Yeah, I will say, piggybacking off some of those reviews, I think the first thing that really stood out to me about this film was how clearly Renoir tells the story. Like, you do get the setup of like, okay, so there's a dad and his wife and the mother and the daughter and the son-in-law.
Only because of a title card.
I know, but you instantly, I almost feel like you don't need the title card and you would get it. And I feel like because this...
Who's Anatole? I wouldn't get that they're engaged.
Yeah, maybe,
I wouldn't get he's a shopkeeper.
You might need a line or two about that, but I think all the rest kind of falls into place. And I think the storytelling by Renoir is so clear and it's just crystal clear. Like, you're not wondering what the relationships between these people are because it's coming out so naturally. I thought. Yeah.
I'm raising my hand.
You are.
It's not that important, but I didn't know. I thought the guys worked at the restaurant.
I thought they did too.
They're just like
frequent visitors.
Yeah. Because they're like eating in the kitchen. I don't know. It's not important though.
It's not important.
It's really not important. But you made it such a point to say how clear all these relationships were.
But that wouldn't matter.
I suppose.
Because the Renoir character who owns the restaurant is like egging them on.
Tarragon omelet.
Yeah. Well, he's not, but he's egging them on to pursue these women. The storytelling is so effortless. I felt like it just unfolds in the way that all the best films do. I really, really liked this.
I'm glad.
Yeah. What can I say?
For you.
So that was A Day in the Country. I think this I don't want to say it's the last Renoir on the list because there might be more.
I don't think so.
Oh, is this the last one? Here, do a Command F.
No!
It's the last one?
We have Grand Illusion.
Oh, Grand Illusion. See, I've always meant to see that movie, so.
It's it's so weird, but it's number 73 on the list. I create a short list of movies to watch. Like I have like a master watch list, but I also have a short list. It's on it. I don't know why.
It's on your short list?
Yeah, I think I added it when we did Rules of the Game.
Cool. Yeah, I've
always still
meant
been
to see
working
that.
off that short list. It's been months.
How many movies are on the short list?
I don't know, like 60?
Oh, okay.
Maybe, yeah.
Well, yeah, so we'll have one more Renoir in our coverage of the top 100 greatest films according to Sight and Sound.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's going to do it for this week. Next week, we are doing a certain Godard movie that you may or may not have heard of before.
It's a big one.
The first Godard on the list after I've shit-talked him this whole time. No, I don't hate Godard. And I do love this film. We're doing Breathless next week. Come on, that's one you don't want to miss.
The Richard Gere one?
Yes, of course. What other? But yeah, if you like this episode, guys, give us a rating wherever you're listening. Drop a review. You have questions, comments, concerns, just want to say hey, drop us a line. Again, we're hello@seenandheardpod.com. You can also find us on Instagram under the Arroyo Film Club and our website, seenandheardpod.com.
Mm-hmm.
I think that'll do it this week.
That does it.
Until next week, this is Greg signing off.
This is Jackie signing off.
Have a nice week. This has been an official podcast of the Arroyo Film Club. Seen and Heard is Jacqueline Pistachian and Greg Kleinschmidt. Theme music by Andrew Cox. You can find us at seenandheardpod.com.